Hey guys, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title of today's video, today we are finally seeing Longlegs. I just feel like this has become my most anticipated film. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I've been thinking about the marketing, the amazing marketing, and just the whole mysteriousness behind this film. If you exist on social media at all, you have already seen the overall reception of the film from the folks who have already gotten to see it. It's literally being called the scariest film of the decade. So I am slightly worried that it's not going to live up to all this hype, all this positive praise. But at the same time, I'm also scared that it is going to live up to the hype and be extremely disturbing. Not that I can't handle it, but I feel like either way, it's still going to be a very good serial killer thriller. And I don't feel like I'm going to be too disappointed or let down tonight by the film or anything like that. But I guess we're gonna find out pretty soon here. FBI agent Lee Harker is assigned to an unsolved serial killer case that takes an unexpected turn, revealing evidence of the occult. Harker discovers a personal connection to the killer and must stop him before he strikes again. This film stars Micah Monroe, Nicolas Cage, and is written and directed by Osgood Perkins. And just from what I've been hearing from everyone, it sounds like it is a cocktail of Silence of the Lambs, Seven, and Zodiac. Those are the three that I'm hearing. And yeah, I'm kind of anxious. You know, I'm already going into it feeling anxious, which is not a good thing for someone like me. I went into Skinamarink an anxious mess, and I pretty much stayed that way throughout the entirety of the film and could not wait for the film to be over so that I could breathe again. That was the most uncomfortable and scared I've ever been in a movie theater before. Like, we're talking panic. I had trouble breathing, my mouth was dry, my heart was pounding. I thought I was passing out for sure. I don't know if this is going to be a similar type experience, but I feel like if anything can top Skinamarink for me, it's probably going to be this film. Literally, one of the reviews for it on Letterboxd says, "My favorite part was when I was able to exit the theater into broad daylight in a happy, crowded street." And that is literally what I felt after seeing Skinamarink, so great. But yeah, Dalton and I are going to be meeting my sister there at the theater. She's seeing it with us. I suspect we're probably going to be watching the majority of the film through the cracks in our fingers because our hands are going to be covering our faces. But of course, Dalton and I will be reviewing the film later when we get back from the theater. So stay tuned for the review portion, but yeah, come with me, you guys, to the theater to see Longlegs. Let's go. We have seen Longlegs, and I also feel like I just saw my favorite movie of the year. Definitely my favorite horror movie. Okay, so where to begin talking about Longlegs? First off, this first part of the review is going to be spoiler-free, and we might briefly discuss spoilery stuff towards the end of the review, so be warned. I'll let you guys know before we get into any type of spoiler discussion so that you can click off of the video just in case you haven't seen the film yet. Do you think it lived up to the hype?
I thought that it sucked. Now imagine, it's just everyone's just like, oh, it's the best horror movie ever. People are saying it's the best horror movie ever.
The best thing since sliced bread.
I thought it was really, really good. I don't know. People are saying it's like scariest movie of all time. I wouldn't agree with that. I think that Hereditary is scarier than this movie.
Right.
And honestly,
I
I think a lot of people are gonna disagree with this, but I thought Skinamarink was probably scarier. Skinamarink, I don't know why it gets so much hate. I think people just TikTok, they have TikTok brains and they can't watch a movie for that long.
I mentioned Skinamarink earlier. I briefly kind of mentioned my theater experience going to see Skinamarink and how I was an anxious mess. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't as anxious while watching this movie, thankfully, because watching Skinamarink in the theater was a really uncomfortable experience for me. I won't get into it again, but I felt like while this was extremely tense throughout, it was a much better experience for me watching this in the theater. In my opinion, not as scary as Dalton said, Hereditary or Skinamarink. So
yeah, I thought both of those movies are scarier, more tense than this movie. I thought the movie was like extremely well done. Like technically, if we take all the feeling, all the story, all that aside, technically the movie is extremely well done. Cinematography, lighting, the acting is like, the performances are incredibly well done. I get why now I saw people relating it to Fincher movies like Seven, Zodiac, movies like that. I get why people relate it to those now, because cinematography very similar to like David Fincher, locked off shots. You just have like panning or tilting. You don't have like crazy camera work that's trying to like scare you or whatever. It's just like, let the actors do what they do best, let the cinematography do what they do best, like light the scene, just looks incredible. So yeah, I get those comparisons. I don't so much maybe when it comes to like how it made me feel. David Fincher is my favorite director, so any movie that has those comparisons is like awesome to me. But and it lived up to those comparisons. I think Fincher, some of the Fincher movies like Seven, for example, which is one of my all-time favorites. The reason I like that movie so much is because I feel like I really feel for Brad Pitt's character, and towards the end and stuff, like what happens in that movie, I really feel like I'm there. This movie isn't necessarily going for that, maybe, where I feel like I wasn't super attached to Lee's character because there wasn't really any subplot. It was just like this whole story, which, not necessarily knocking it in any sense, but just kind of comparing, yeah, like the difference of movie styles, of plot styles. But extremely well done movie. I think it lived up to the hype almost. I think that people just bought into the marketing so much, which marketing was awesome on this movie. Like they went above and beyond. Whatever marketing team worked on the marketing for this did an incredibly good job, but I think people bought into it maybe too much. I don't know. That's just to say, like, people are just saying like it's the greatest movie of all time or greatest horror movie of all time, and I think like when you start throwing those things out, it comes into like recency bias a lot, where people just saw it and it made them feel a certain way, so they're like, oh, this is the greatest horror movie ever, and it's like, I don't know about that, but I think all in all, incredibly well done movie. Technically, the story is super intriguing. It goes a way that I don't think anyone really expects. And Nicolas Cage obviously like played that character very, very well, and you see him obviously getting a lot of praise for his performance, but I also think Micah Monroe, a lot of subtlety in that character that she does incredibly well.
I agree. This was my first Oz Perkins film. I know he's done work in the genre before, Black Coat's Daughter, which we were going to watch a couple days ago, but we just didn't have the time or whatever. But what a stunning introduction to Oz Perkins' work. I did watch an interview with Nicolas Cage, and this isn't too spoiler or anything, but he was kind of talking about the inspiration behind his character and how he kind of played it very androgynous, and it is pretty much based on his mother, who suffered from mental illness and everything. He kind of took elements from her speech and her mannerisms. It's really interesting when you watch it from that perspective.
His character is very feminine. Like,
yeah, there's some feminine aspects to it, almost, I don't want to say motherly, just because I know that he based it off of his mom, but I can kind of see that too. And there's themes of that, I think, throughout the film, because Oz Perkins as well has come out and said that his mother, and if you know Oz Perkins' backstory and who he is and where he came from, his family, you would know the troubling upbringing that he had, and that's kind of a theme, I think. Mothers kind of lying to you in order to protect you. But yeah, overall, I thought the movie was almost perfect. I don't think it was perfect. I think the issues that I had with it are all kind of in that final act, that final part. But even the issues that I do have, they don't ruin the film by any means. They're just kind of more little nitpicky things that I think they maybe could have changed. The score was actually really cool. It was very understated, but when it was there, it was really creepy, I think. I think it fit the tone of the film. There's, like I said, a sense of dread and just uneasiness feeling throughout the whole film, and I think the score really goes along with that. There's also just some like rock and roll music in the film, which is awesome, and it feels like an early 90s piece. Like, it does feel very Silence of the Lambs. I think that was a pretty good comparison. There were some moments of humor, and it's kind of just more so that uncomfortable humor.
There are some like tension breaking moments of humor in the film, and there's just like one guy in our theater who just found them so funny for some reason. Some people laugh when they're like scared or tense or whatever, so
yeah.
But it was just funny because this guy sounded like Santa Claus in the far back of the
ho
theater.
ho ho.
Yeah,
ho.
every little, like, there would be like a little moment that was kind of funny, and like all it deserves is a little like one of those, or like a little chuckle. But this guy was in the back and he's like, oh.
So I think we're going to wrap up the spoiler-free portion of the review. I will just say one last thing. The first like 2 minutes of the film talk about starting like on a high. I was pretty shocked when it started. I'm like, hell yeah, this is gonna be freaking awesome. Just the editing of the opening credits.
Yeah.
I was hooked.
Yeah, I totally
really,
agree.
You can't miss this one in theaters. Please go see it in theaters. Nicolas Cage is kind of unlike anything you've seen.
There's something like also, and you'll see this in, you know, obviously the poster and like all the marketing and stuff, like something about black text on a super saturated red background that is just like so, it's like sexy but like scary, like you know,
Could
Blair
be either.
Witch, the one Blair Witch, the 2015 one with the red background and then the black trees, like that's such a cool poster. Barbarian's another one with the red background and the text, like something I think Malignant. I've never watched that, but
yes, that has a really cool poster.
Yeah,
I never watched it either.
But just something about that. Unfortunately, it's getting into the territory of being overdone, but it's so, yeah, it just always gets me, like just seeing that. And yeah, you know, in this movie you'll see that with like the title sequence and stuff. But
please go see this movie in theaters. It's a really special movie. I do think it lived up to the hype.
yeah, I'd say so too.
I give it, what do I give Longlegs? Either a 4 or 4.5 out of 5. I don't know. I'm undecided. We will see this again. Like, I want to see it again in the theater while it's still out in theaters.
Yeah, right after it was over, I was kind of like, did it live up to the hype? And then as I sat with it, as I was driving home, I was just like, yeah, okay. Like, the more that I sat with it, I was like, yeah, it really did live up to the hype. All I can say is certain parts weren't how I would have done it if I was making it necessarily. But obviously every filmmaker and every person is just totally different. So that's not really a good critique. So yeah, no, I think it lived up to the hype.
So we're going to get a little spoilery, so click off if you haven't seen the film yet. Please go see the film, and then you can come back and watch the spoilery parts.
Or if you're one of those people that's like, spoilers makes movies better, you can stay around.
You do you.
You do you.
It's really not...
You're wrong, but you do
It's not the biggest deal.
So, film starts out and already kind of throws you off because you get a glimpse of Nicolas Cage's character, like full face. It's like there you get under the nose for a bit, and
Scary.
then there's like a quick jump sort of thing with just his face.
Just the framing of that though.
Yeah.
Where it's not his full face and it's just the lower half of his face. That is so scary.
Yeah, it is so
against
creepy.
the white backdrop of the snow.
Yeah.
His face is just white.
His face is
white
super
as
white,
the snow. It's great.
That obviously kind of already throws you off because like I feel like the whole marketing around this film felt like, you know, you're like he's gonna be super obscure, and I didn't know how to feel about that. I was kind of wondering like, because it did throw me off, because what I had expected was you weren't really gonna see him in full form until like the very end. So that's what I kind of thought was gonna happen, because, you know, they kind of made that a whole thing. All the design and stuff just shows like a little part of his face, and then they posted like something like Michael Monroe's first time seeing him or whatever on, and so anyways, they kind of really built that up. Like the way that he looks is really built up. I don't actually think the way that he looks, like I think that he's the character as a whole is very creepy, but just the face and stuff alone, I wasn't like, whoa, crazy. I was just
right.
like, okay.
I actually said to you after we got out, I'm surprised how much he still looked like Nicolas Cage. How much he still looked like himself.
So throughout the movie, I kind of caught on to the idea that she's one of the, you know, children whose birthday is on the 14th that has all this terrible stuff happen to her. Especially when there's the line where she's in the mental institution with that girl. I forget her name. You remember?
Carrie Ann?
She's in the mental institution with her. And Carrie Ann says, or rather, Lee asks Carrie Ann, do you remember a doll? And then she says, no, and you wouldn't either, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that was like when it was really clear, like, oh, okay, something with the doll here is causing them, or rather, they are forgetting their past. And that's kind of clear with the lead character throughout the film. She's asked about her past, and she's like, I just don't remember. Like, she doesn't remember any of her childhood. So it's not incredibly evident throughout the movie if it's going to be like a Seven sort of movie where it's serial killer movie, very based in reality, or if it's going to go into the sort of supernatural realm. And especially because even when like weird little things are happening, you're kind of like, is this just sort of a creative choice to make it, you know, make you feel a certain way? But then, you know, obviously in that final act, it's very evident that there's like a sort of possession thing going on, and it is supernatural. But I think it's really interesting that it kind of toes the line there, because I don't know, I saw a lot of people saying they didn't like that aspect of it. That's why a lot of people didn't like the final act. Some people are saying it's like, oh, 2/3 of it is like Silence of the Lambs, and then the final act is just like, oh, you know, all over the place. It's like, no, not at all. It was very unique in that way that it did it like that. For me personally, it's less scary when it's not super based in reality, but that's just because my brain is like I think about these things very logically, so things that are very realistic scare me a lot more. But that's not everyone. Like, some people get really tripped out by possession stuff. Like, that scares the hell out of them. That sort of critique of it, you know, I could see why certain people would like that less. It didn't really take me much out of it. Yeah, I still felt like, in fact, I thought it was really, really cool. It was almost a twist in a way, because you're almost not expecting that. You're sort of, the whole film, you're thinking it's like, oh, he's this sort of cult leader or something that's like, you know, that's convincing these people to kill their families or something weird. Like, you're not really sure. And I think that that's awesome that it's not revealed until the final act. And it's not done in like a cheesy, weird way where there's like all this crazy like VFX or weird effects like going on. It's nothing like that. It's very like possession, and it's very realistic in a sort of spiritual sense, where it's like, you know, maybe the evil is coming out in the form of like mental illness or something, because her mom's like clearly a hoarder and has like issues of her own, which, you know, you probably got that way after watching all these families like kill, or all these, I guess it's the dad, it seems like, in all of them that kills the family.
That element of it reminded me of like Amityville Horror, those films, and kind of what happens there. But yeah, for sure.
But the doll is sort of like, once this doll comes in their lives, they are possessed sort of by it.
Creepy imagery though with the dolls.
Yeah.
Like the veil.
When they're under the veil,
doll, and I didn't notice it in the trailer, but you can clearly see the eyes. It's just very terrifying imagery, and this film has a lot of terrifying imagery, especially at the end with her mom, played by Alicia Witt, who is really good in this. I only know Alicia Witt from that original Urban Legend film, and then I think she was in a few episodes of The Walking Dead back when I watched that, but she was great in this.
Yeah. I was actually telling Ashley this in the car. Some of the imagery with the mom creeped me out more than, the imagery with Longlegs, because that character, the mom's character, is once again back to the sort of reality versus supernatural. Like, she feels very real. Like, it feels like, especially if you've ever dealt with people in your life or have people close to you who have like mental illness or anything like that, it felt like a very real character, and it felt like this relationship between the mother and daughter is like not good. Like, it's very sort of distant, but you can tell that they love each other, but it's not like, it's not like a great relationship. So
one last thing, I know we kind of jumped around, but we did just see this, so the movie is kind of all over the place in our minds. Different parts stood out more than others. So, but what just came to me was how much I loved that interrogation, I guess you would call that, scene with Longlegs and Lee sitting across from each other at the table, and that, of course, that was in that marketing.
Yeah.
But I actually really loved that scene. That is probably the most dialogue heavy scene for Longlegs.
Yeah.
He talks for quite a while, and the camera lingers on his face, so you see him for quite a while, and just how that scene progresses, I think, was really well done. Got under my skin, and then, of course, the way that scene ends very violently, but I just wanted to say that whole scene was probably one of my favorites out of the whole film.
Yeah, throughout the film you see Longlegs quite a bit, actually.
Right, so do you think that seeing him a lot kind of takes away from the mystique of that character?
Maybe, but I think it just has to do with the sort of reveal that the mom is like a really important piece to this, is like more important, I guess, than just like keeping that character mysterious, because you don't really expect the mom entirely. I mean, you kind of do if you catch on.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought she was just a really sad old woman who, she kept saying nobody ever visited us. Which,
once again, that's like very real. Like, that feels like mental illness, sort of. And like you when it cuts and she's walking up, when Lee's walking up the stairs, and there's just stuff everywhere, and you realize like, oh, she's a hoarder. Like,
I just didn't think she actually was worshiping Satan.
She gets that way more so through just having to accept this life, almost, that, oh, I have to do this terrible thing. It's like coping with it, because she's doing this thing to keep her daughter alive, essentially, and it's sort of a coping mechanism to just sort of lean into it, where you're just like, guess I'm a Satanist now.
So with all that being said, Dalton and I will be watching this again in the theater, and maybe we'll take my mom.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun time. And yeah, you guys, this was my most anticipated film for, honestly, the entire year. I mean, I know the year is only half finished, but I can't really see anything else topping this for me. I just feel like it's just so special. This film is special.
Yeah. I agree. Except, of course, the new Crow movie, which is going to be so good. Right?
You better take that back. Listen, you never know.
It's true, you do.
Maybe they'll surprise the hell out of us, and the new Crow movie will be...
Doubt it, but yeah.
The best thing since sliced bread.
Said that twice, I think, now. Did you say that twice in this video? Yeah. You should keep both then. Just like it's your only catchphrase.
It's gonna be better than sliced bread.
This is Longlegs. Yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. Hope you go see the movie if you haven't already. Hope you really like it. Another amazing movie. This year's been doing pretty well, I feel like.
It really has. I feel this kind of like excitement deep within me for movies again. Yeah. There was kind of a period where there was like a bit of a lull and things were coming out, but they weren't very like exciting.
I think like when great movies are coming out, great music is coming out, like things like that, it really changes everything for just how you kind of feel from day to day. And having something to look forward to, like this movie, we were both super excited to see it.
Super excited. Super excited. I was sitting there in the theater before it started, just like shaking, but like not shaking in a bad way finally.
Yeah.
Just shaking from excitement and just looking around at everybody there, also excited, and just that feeling, that anticipation of we're about to see a really great movie.
Yeah. It's really an amazing feeling.
It's one of the best feelings.
And, great experience. We got to see it at the best theater that there is.
Go see Longlegs, you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Go see Longlegs, you guys. He did something like this.
Is this what he did?
It'd be funny if he did that.
Yeah.